Born in Nevada, Max was not an ordinary kid. By the time most children were still figuring out multiplication, he was dismantling radios, experimenting with circuits, and studying quantum physics out of pure curiosity. His dream wasn't to become rich or famous, it was to give free energy to the world, to solve the biggest problem that has limited humanity for centuries, dependence on power we have to pay for. When Max appeared in an interview at 13, wearing a simple tie and speaking with the confidence of a scientist twice his age, people were captivated. He explained that he had built a device using coils, coffee cans, and wires, an invention inspired by Nikola Tesla's ideas. According to him, this device could harness energy that already exists in the air. He said it wasn't about creating energy, it was about capturing it. And to millions watching online, it sounded revolutionary. But it was his next claim that turned a curious prodigy into a legend, and a target for ridicule. In that same year, Max introduced an idea that stunned people across the internet. He claimed that the European research organization known as CERN had done something catastrophic during one of its high-energy experiments. According to Max, the scientists had accidentally destroyed our universe, and what we now live in, is a replacement reality. It sounded like science fiction. Yet, Max explained it with such conviction that even skeptics paused to listen. He said that when CERN collided particles at near light speed, they ripped through the very fabric of spacetime. The universe, he believed, snapped, and what followed was not the end, but a reset. We didn't die, he said. We just woke up in a slightly different version of reality. At the time, social media was already obsessed with one strange phenomenon, the Mandela effect, the eerie sense that something in our collective memory has changed. People remembered things differently than how they actually were. Some swore that the Monopoly man once had a monocle. Others insisted that Berenstein Bears had always been spelled with an E, not an A. Some even remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison decades before he actually passed away in 2013. Max's theory tied it all together. According to him, these were not false memories, they were echoes of the old universe, the one CERN destroyed. Almost overnight, Max's name became a viral phenomenon. People shared his interviews, made documentaries about him, and praised him as a child genius who had finally explained what scientists could not. He became a symbol for the curious, the dreamers, and the skeptics who felt something was off with the world. The colors looked different, logos had changed, movie lines didn't sound the same. To them, Max was not just a boy genius, he was a messenger confirming what they had already felt deep down, that reality itself had shifted. Yet, as his fame grew, so did the scrutiny. Scientists dismissed his explanation as pseudoscience, pointing out that CERN's experiments were far too small to destroy a universe. The Large Hadron Collider, they explained, smashes protons together to study the smallest particles in existence. The energy released in those collisions is less than what happens when two mosquitoes bump into each other mid-air. If that's true, how could it possibly rip the universe apart? But for believers, the rebuttal didn't matter. Max's words filled a gap that logic couldn't reach, the emotional sense that something about our world had changed. Behind Max's sudden rise stood a man few people paid attention to, his father. Supportive yet intensely private, his father managed Max's appearances, interviews, and online presence. It was clear he believed in his son's brilliance. Together, they created a small workshop at home. Cameras rolled as Max explained his inventions, proudly showing off a coffee can wrapped in copper coils, the device he claimed captured atmospheric energy. He believed it could one day power an entire home. The world loved the image, a young boy in his garage, saving humanity with scrap metal and genius. It was romantic, hopeful, and inspiring. But for scientists, the device simply couldn't do what Max claimed. The energy it produced was nothing more than static electricity, a tiny charge, not a sustainable power source. Still, the myth grew. People weren't tuning in for data, they were tuning in for belief. Even after scientists moved on, Max's theory refused to fade. It merged into the online conspiracy ecosystem, connecting to everything from parallel universes to simulation theory. Videos analyzing his words appeared by the thousands. Comment sections filled with confessions. I remember the Fruit of the Loom logo having a cornucopia. Febreze was spelled with 2 E's, not 1. I swear Darth Vader said, "Luke, I am your father." It wasn't just nostalgia. It was as if millions of people were reaching for proof that their memories were right, that reality, not they, had changed. Psychologists began studying this phenomenon, explaining that human memory is far less reliable than we think. The brain doesn't store events like a camera, it reconstructs them every time we recall them. Each reconstruction introduces small changes, tiny errors that, over time, become false memories. But the human mind resists being wrong. It prefers to believe that the world shifted, not us. And that's why Max's story still resonates. It validates a shared confusion about how fragile our sense of reality truly is. CERN eventually responded to the growing online claims. Scientists there were both amused and concerned. They clarified that their experiments, though powerful, pose no risk to our universe. The collisions inside the Large Hadron Collider happen naturally in Earth's atmosphere millions of times every second. In short, if CERN could destroy the universe, we wouldn't be here to argue about it. But that explanation didn't kill the theory. It only made it grow. To believers, CERN's denial was proof of secrecy. Of course they'd deny it, some said. They can't admit they broke the universe. And just like that, the theory crossed the line from curiosity to faith. Then, as quickly as he appeared, Max vanished from the public eye. His videos stopped. His website went silent. Years passed, and rumors spread. Some said he had been silenced, others that he'd joined a secret research program. In truth, none of those claims were true. The real story is simpler, and far more human. Max grew up. He stepped away from the spotlight, focused on school, and began studying physics properly. Interviews from recent years suggest he's still deeply curious, still passionate about science, but far more cautious about extraordinary claims. He once said that his early words had been misunderstood, that he never wanted to start a conspiracy, only to inspire people to think differently about energy and possibility. But by then, his image had taken on a life of its own. To the internet, Max was no longer a person. He was a symbol, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we want to believe, not the ones that are true. The story of Max Luffin is less about a boy who solved free energy and more about the world that needed him to. In an era of mistrust, when people feel disconnected from institutions and truth itself seems flexible, a child claiming to expose hidden truths became a hero. He represented purity, a mind untouched by corporate greed or academic politics. And maybe that's why his story continues to echo. It isn't really about CERN or the Mandela effect. It's about our hunger for meaning in a world that changes faster than we can understand. Whether or not Max was right, he forced millions to ask questions most people never do. What is reality? How do we know it's real? And what if we've been wrong all along? Those questions keep his story alive, long after the cameras stopped rolling. Somewhere, that small coffee can wrapped in copper wire still exists, a relic of one boy's dream to change the world. Whether it produced real power or not no longer matters. What it represented was far greater, the courage to imagine something impossible. Max Luffin may not have destroyed the universe. But in a strange way, he built a new one, an idea that will live online forever, in videos, in forums, and in the minds of everyone who ever looked at the world and thought, something feels different. And perhaps that's the real power of his story, not in science or energy, but in the realization that curiosity, especially when it comes from a child, can still shake the world. Did CERN really destroy our universe, leaving us drifting in a near-perfect copy of what once was? Or is it simply our fragile memories playing tricks on us? Either way, one thing is certain, the mystery of Max Luffin remains one of the most fascinating modern legends of our time, proof that the human mind, for all its brilliance and flaws, will always chase the truth, no matter how strange it might be.